Mr. Prakrut, so good afternoon, Prakrut. And Prakrut is a second year student of FMS, and right now he's a computer engineer. And I think you completed the same. Just a minute. Actually, even I have one of the window which was open for the YouTube thing. So that was creating the noise. So Prakrut is a second year student of FMS. I think completing in April or May.
Yes, I'll complete it in April.
April, okay. So he's already got a PPO, I think.
Yes, sir. I've got a PPO from TAS, Tata
Okay.
Administrative Services.
Okay. So Prakrut, we have a good association with Prakrut long one. Even I think when he was preparing at that time, even you had I think you gave a how to prepare for it and everything. In the first year, I think you gave it.
Yes, sir. After my CUET results, yes.
So Prakriti has much more experience right now. So there are two kind of audience as Prakriti I've already told you. एक तो
Yes.
audience होगा जो दे रहा है अभी GDPI और एक prepare कर रहा है 2025. So both the kind of an audience would be there. So what will happen is मैं आप right now you would be totally holding the whole thing. I would be there. I would be just switching off my video and as well as the audio, so that the people, the stage would be all yours. And whenever you have any issues, you can always ping me. Okay, I'm already looking at the thing. The three teachers were looking at each and every technology. Fine.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm switching off my camera as well as the audio. Stage is yours from now.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
You can share.
Yes.
You are the co-host now.
Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Very much
Perfect. So today, like sir mentioned, that we will talk about how to crack the MBA interview. So irrespective of what stage you are, if you are preparing for CAT or you are preparing for the final round of GDPI, you need to be aware about the final stage before you get admitted into your dream college. So the interview is the final and the most crucial stage in your entire pre-MBA journey. So I'll quickly share the agenda that I have today. We'll basically talk about four main things, and I'll try to cover it in the next 15 minutes so that we have enough time for question and answers. The first is, what are the interviewers looking for? So again, I've never been an interviewer, but I've taken a lot of mock interviews and also I've interacted with professors in our college, and they often share in classrooms that what do they look for during their interview or when they take interviews. Then we will discuss what are the typical types of questions that are asked in different interviews. So no matter what B school interview you are applying for, what you are appearing for, there are some common themes of questions that you will encounter, and I'll talk about them. Then I'll talk about some general tips that you should keep in mind while you are giving your interview. And finally, what does an interview day look like when you go to that location to give your interview? And then we'll follow it up with Q&A. So all of these things I've prepared with my experiences, and I've also talked with a lot of other students, other friends who are in different B schools across India, and taken their inputs to share this with you. So what are the interviewers looking for? Basically, they are looking for three C's: competence, communication, and clarity. These are broadly the three criterias where they will evaluate you. So competence means that do you have the academic knowledge? Do you have the aptitude and the attitude to be at a B school? Do you have those problem solving skills? Do you have the right kind of motivation to pursue this course? Can you uh, put up with the rigor? So MBA is a very rigorous course. So they'll test if you are able to go through that rigor by putting you in pressure situations also. So that's the first thing, competence. Second is communication. Communication is probably one of the most important aspects of the interview because it defines what kind of person you will be during the classroom while you are appearing for the placements. So your articulation skills, your confidence during the interview, your ability to put your ideas very clearly and effectively, all of that will be considered. And finally is the clarity of goals. So why do you want to do an MBA in the first place? Are you clear about your short-term and long-term goals? Are you clear about the B school that you're appearing for? All of these would be tested under the clarity. So broadly speaking, these are the three things that the interviewers are looking for. Now, what are the common types of questions that they will ask you to test all these three things? Let's look at those. So first are the very basic common types of questions that they ask. the first question usually is, tell me about yourself. Now, you should have a very solid, well-prepared answer for this question because there is a very, very good chance that they will shortly ask you this question. So you should have a 50 to 60-second long answer for this, where you talk about your background, your family, your undergraduate academics, your work experience if you have any, and basic about your interests and hobbies. There should be a short, succinct, and to the point answer, and you should very confidently deliver this answer. Then typically the other question is why MBA? Why do you want to do an MBA? So you might be from different backgrounds. You might be engineers, lawyers, art students, commerce students. Why do you want to do an MBA in the first place? And why does MBA fit in your career trajectory? So think about this with patience and prepare an answer for this. The other question that typically gets asked is why this B school? Now, what people make a mistake is that they do not have a well-prepared answer for this. They have a very generic answer that this is a very B school, this is a very good B school, it is a top-ranked college, it has good placements. All of these are very generic answers. Interviewers hear this answer hundred of times. So you must research about the institute that you're appearing for. Let's say you're appearing for FMS. So read about the professors, what kind of work is done at FMS, what kinds of companies visit, what are the clubs, societies, events, activities that take place. Use that information in your answer, and that will show that you are genuinely interested in coming to this college. Then another typical question is strengths and weaknesses. Here I've noticed that sometimes what mistake students do is that when they're asked about their weaknesses, they'll talk about their strengths. So let's say they say that I'm very detailed oriented. When they're asked about their weakness, they will give this answer. Now, this is not a very honest answer. I mean, being detail oriented or being a perfectionist, it's actually a good thing. But people try to say that in their weaknesses. So don't do that. Be honest. Talk about your weakness. Typically, they also ask about what do you consider yourself, what is your biggest achievement in life, what is your biggest failure. So think about these answers as well. You have, if you're preparing for GDPR or if you're preparing for CAT, you have enough time to think about these questions. The second set of questions is about academic and work experience. So, if you're a fresher, be prepared to answer basic questions about your graduation subjects. So, if you are a computer engineer, they might ask you what is object-oriented programming. Such basic questions. If you have mentioned any PORs in your SOPs, so positions of responsibilities. So, if you have been head of a society or a head of a club, they might ask you questions about that. That what was the work that you do? What did you learn from it? All of those questions. If you have work experience, then the line of questioning will be slightly different. They'll focus more on what company did you work in, what industry that company operates in, what was your role, what were your key learnings, how did you uh, tackle the different challenges that you faced during your work experience, all of those questions. They might, even then, there is a chance that you might ask you about your graduation subject. So have a basic understanding and revise all your graduation topics. So this is the second head. The third thing that they ask is about current affairs and general awareness. Now, I think this is a very important topic that you should prepare because if you have got an interview call for the last stage, I am assuming that you have good academics and good CAT score. So, what is the major differentiator? It is your understanding about the world affairs and general awareness. So, if you're preparing for an interview, uh, prepare the business and economic news for at least the past 2 to 3 months. All the major topics that are being discussed in the media, be aware about them. So, for instance, right now, you must prepare about the budget that the government has released. So, what are the key initiatives, key policies of the budget? How do you think it will affect the country in the next few years? Also, critically analyze the budget. So, they might ask you that what do you think could be done differently? I remember that during my IIM Bangalore interview, I was grilled a lot about the government budget. So I said that it is a positive budget. They are doing a lot of capital expenditure. I even quoted the numbers. I prepared the budget well, but they constantly counter question me about the shortcomings. Everything I would say, they would just simply deny. They would say that this would not work. So if you are preparing any such topics, prepare it in detail. If you have any particular inclination towards any industry, be it in your work experiences or your future goals, or also look at the industry specific trends. For example, let's say you have some background with the FMCG industry where you've worked in uh, companies related to FMCG, then they might ask you about the industry specific trends. And for all these type of topics, have structured opinions. So whenever you talk about a topic, give a brief introduction about the topic, talk about it pros, cons, and then have a balanced conclusion. It is important that you take a stand, but it is also important that you show that you have the ability to consider diverse perspectives and you can give a balanced opinion. And it's crucial that you balance both the things. Right now, other topics that I can think of is the Trump presidency, how it will affect India. You can talk about AI is a very hot topic right now. Impact of AI on business, impact of AI in other sectors. They might also ask you about a lot of sustainability topics because that is something which is in news for the last many years. They might ask you what are your interests, and then ask you questions based on that. So this is typically about current affairs and general awareness. To prepare for it, the idea is very simple. Spend 30 to 40 minutes reading a newspaper. If you have less time, there are YouTube videos that are available. There are short notes that are available. Just refer to those and prepare them properly. One more thing is economic survey. If you have some time, also look at the economic survey, which will give you a good idea about the government policies. And you can quote data and arguments from that. That will give you more credibility for your arguments. Let's move on to the next topic, which is behavioral and HR questions. So typically, they will ask you some hypothetical questions, or they will ask you to quote examples from your own life. So describe a challenge, what you faced in college or work, how you handled it. Give me an example where uh, you were leading a team. How did you manage conflicts in your team? How did you manage a crisis? They might simply ask you a basic question that what motivates you in life. I remember in one of the interviews that simply asked me that Prakrit, what do you like to do in your free time? Just tell me about it. Another B school asked me that let's say if you're very disappointed in life because of a failure, how do you get over it? This typical behavioral HR questions are used to evaluate what kind of a person you are, what are the values close to you, and how do you deal with tough situations. So it is good to prepare some examples in advance because you know that typically these are the questions that are asked. So prepare some examples which you can talk about, and you can also reuse these examples in different scenarios. One thing I would recommend is that you use the STAR framework. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So if any question is asked, give it a structure. Don't just simply blabber on about your experience. So first explain what was the situation like, what was your task in that, what were the actions that you took, and what was the results. And maybe you can follow it up with what were your key learnings from that experience. So this gives an indication to the interviewer that you reflect on the things that happened to your life, you learn from it, and then you move forward. So these are good qualities to have in any individual. So these are typically the different types of questions that you will be asked. Now I'll share some general tips about interviews. So first is body language and communication. Like I mentioned, communication is one of the most important criteria that they judge you at. Now, communication includes both verbal communication and non-verbal communication. As soon as you enter the room, the way you open the door, the way you walk in, the way you greet the panelist, all of these makes an impression. So you must be very confident, you must be loud, you must be clear in all these things. Whenever you are asked a question, maintain an eye contact with them. Even if you don't know an answer, uh, say it with a smile that, sorry, sir, I'm not aware about this topic. Or you might say that, sorry, sir, I cannot recall this topic. So have that confidence in your interviews. At the same time, it's very essential that you maintain the boundary between confidence and not being very arrogant because sometimes the candidates sometimes tend to be a little more aggressive in their interviews also. So maintain that balance. If possible, try to avoid fillers. It is very difficult to do that. Even now, I face this issue of using a lot of fillers, but if possible, practice that you avoid using fillers in your sentences. And you should always keep your answers concise and structured, right? The interview usually lasts for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, if you give very long answers, the interviewers don't have a lot of time to ask different questions. So whenever you're asked a question, try to wrap it up within 60 to 90 seconds, maximum 2 minutes. Because after that level, the interviewer would also lose interest. So it is very important that you structure your answers very concisely and within 90 seconds. Apart from that, it's important that you dress well, wear a proper suit, proper tie. It should be well ironed. All of your shoes should be polished. Your hair should be properly cut. You should try to keep a clean shave or a well trimmed beard. All of these are basic hygiene checks. If you do not follow these hygiene checks, it already gives a very negative impression. So all of these things you must do. Now, a little bit about mock interviews and practice. So one thing you can do is to prepare for interviews, have mock interviews with your either your seniors from different B schools, with your mentors at your coaching institutes, or simply I used to reach out to people at different B schools, seniors, and I just ask them that if they could take out 20-25 minutes to take my mock interviews. So all of these activities will help you prepare for the interview. Let's say if you don't get this opportunity, simply record a video of yourself talking to the camera and answering all these questions. Then watch that video again. You will be able to notice the mistakes that you do. You will be able to notice the words that you are using, the language that you are using, and all of that will help you analyze your shortcomings. And always try to get feedback about the clarity, confidence, and content whenever you do an interview. So this is how you should prepare for the interviews. Now let's talk a little bit about what does an interview day look like. So when you go to your venue, first process is about the document verification. They'll look at your mark sheets, your work experience documents, your identity proofs, etc. After that, some B schools have a written ability test. They'll take you to a room, they'll give you a topic, and you'll have about 10-15 minutes to write an answer for that topic. It's usually an opinionated question that is asked. Some B schools conduct a group discussion. A group discussion is a whole different ball game because it's everybody wants to maximize their chance of converting. Everybody is very aggressive during the group discussion. So you'll have to fight for your turn. You'll have to be loud and you have to give your point clearly and talk about a point which has not already been discussed by others. So give a new perspective to the debate. And I would also recommend that every time in a group discussion, either try to start the group discussion by being the first person to introduce the topic or be the person who concludes the group discussion. And at least try to make two entries during the group discussion. So that will help you stand out. And then finally, there is the interview that happens. General interview day tips would be that make sure that you know the venue beforehand, you reach the venue on time, so that there are no last minute hiccups. Carry all the documents, have enough photocopies so that you are relaxed during the interview day. So by and large, this is what the entire process looks like. Uh, we talked about the different types of questions, what are the interviewers looking for, basic tips to keep in mind, and how does an interview day look like. Uh, I'll now just give an example of my FMS interview. So an FMS interview is just for 10 minutes, sometimes even shorter than 10 minutes. So that short duration is all you have to make an impression. So for an FMS interview, the document verification took place, and immediately after it, there was the interview round. Now, FMS has this different style of interview where they first ask you to have an extempore. So as soon as you enter the room, they'll give you a topic. You will have 10 to 15 seconds to think about the topic, and then you have to speak for that topic for 1 minute. Now, it is a slightly challenging task because the topics can be very abstract. They might ask you a very random topic. Let's say they'll say something like mountains. You have to speak for mountains for 1 minute, or they'll just give a random topic like, let's say, a blue elephant in the sky. It's a very abstract topic. So they're probably testing your communication skills and also your critical thinking and creativity. So after that 1 minute of extempore, then the interview takes place. In my interview, I was asked about my UPSC experience. Then they asked me about my internship, data science internship, some questions related to that. Then they asked me about current affairs, about the EV policies and what do I think about the future of EV in India is. And finally, there were some questions related to the current state of the Indian economy. So it was less than 10 minutes, and I managed to clear the interview round and I got selected in the first list itself. So this is about my experience, and now I think I want to spend more time in understanding your questions and your queries. So I think we can start with the Q&A.
The first question I would be asking, you can take out this sharing screen.
Okay.
Yes. So, Prakrut, how is FMS? What is a peculiar thing about FMS? Let's say if you have a choice between ABC and FMS, why a person should be choosing FMS?
So multiple reasons I'll start with, sir.
Hmm.
First, the obvious one that everybody is well aware that the return on investment is very high.
Hmm.
Compared to the other B schools, the fees is just one-tenth. Our
Hmm.
annual academic fee is just 2 lakhs, and the
Hmm.
placements is equivalent. Our average package is around 30 plus lakhs, which is also similar at the top B schools. But
Hmm.
ROI is one factor. For me, there are a lot other factors. Number one is it's completely a student-run campus.
Hmm.
So right from the placement activities to all the activities that happen in college, be it guest lectures, other sports activities, everything is managed and run by students. So it
Hmm.
gives you an opportunity to enhance and improve your personality as well. It gives you the confidence to take up responsibilities. And third is the fact that it's one of the oldest B schools in the country. Even it started before the IIM. So we have a great alumni network. The professors here are being with the university for over 3 decades. So there is a lot of value in the classroom discussions that we have, and we are part of the Delhi University. So that synergies between different institutes is
Hmm.
also there. So that is the reason why you should take up FMS.
एक नेगेटिव पॉइंट पीपल यूजुअली सेज कि थोड़ा सा गवर्नमेंट वाला माहौल है. If you'll
Mhm,
compare it with the ABC kind of even C, ABC, even L and O, even CAP you can say, but ये थोड़ा सा FMS में एक गवर्नमेंट काइंड ऑफ ए माहौल है. तो
mhm,
culture as we talk about, so just like government office versus a private office, there are same culture difference. Do you
mhm.
agree with that?
So administration is part of a government university.
Hmm.
So that's why there are a lot of procedurals and bureaucratic processes. But that's about the administration part. In terms of
Hmm.
academics, it's very rigorous. We have classes throughout the week. It's a day school, so we don't have a residential program. But a
Okay.
lot of it is student and activities. So that I don't think affects a lot in terms of your academic experience. And at the same time, I see it's a lot of freedom also. So because there is a lot more freedom and more time available, you can pursue corporate competitions, which are very important during MBA. It helps you secure a job offers. So corporate competitions, research work, all of that you have more freedom to do. So I think it helps in that way.
Okay. So some questions are, I think बच्चों को ही पकड़ लो. There's a question like there's a one question which was one person was asking about the long and the short term goals kind of a thing. Like you were a computer engineer, so when you were in the interview, when the long and the short term goals like kind of a question comes, then how do you think we should be answering?
So for me, because I was computer engineer and then I had some years of UPSC gap, my
Hmm.
short-term goal basically was to excel at my academics, followed by securing a job opportunity in the consulting space because I believe that that is the sector that I'm really interested in working in to get experiences of different industries, work in solving problems. That was my short-term goal. Long term, I had mentioned that I want to do my own boutique consulting in the social impact space because that is something close to my heart, social impact consulting, working with
Social impact
NGOs,
consulting. Okay.
consulting, yes, working with
Give an example. Bro.
NGOs.
Give an example.
Right. So a lot, for example, there are NGOs which have a lot of funds from foreign agencies, but they don't know how to use that funds effectively. So a social impact consultant will help you find the right projects and how to invest them effectively, so that there are tangible outcomes of the money that is spent. So what sector to target, what policies to design, all of that. They also work with government agencies to design and implement policies. For example, there is a consulting firm called Samagra, which works with government in designing and implementing government initiatives in health and education. So in that space, I wanted to work.
Okay. So there's one question which we can see: how do you improve accuracy in quant? Quant,
Accuracy.
do you see quant as more of a maths or more of a logic test?
For quant, I think you have to identify your strengths and weaknesses. You cannot attempt all the questions. I knew that arithmetic is something I'm good at. Uh, so I used to focus on word problems. Geometry was not something where I excelled in. So I did
Hmm.
not put equivalent effort in that topic. So choose
Hmm.
the right questions, practice a lot, and identify your mistakes. it's important to do the right number of questions. Another thing I would recommend is that sometimes people spend a lot of time in one particular question, even if it is their strength. So if you're not able to solve a question in certain time limit, move on to the next question.
You missed the question. The question was that do you see quant in IQ test when we say, just like when we
Mhm.
look at the GMAT, quant is much more logical in nature.
Yes.
You don't need a lot of calculations intensive नहीं होता है.
Mhm.
अब जेई एक calculation intensive होता है.
Yes, sir.
तो कैट हाउ डू यू सी इट? कैट इज नॉट, मतलब वो कैट का वो मैथ्स भी है लेकिन आइडिया लॉजिक का भी है. तो हाउ डू यू
Yes,
सी,
sir.
मतलब अगर मैं पहला क्वेश्चन देख रहा हूँ तो विल आई ट्राई टू मूव इट एज ए पार्ट ऑफ ए लॉजिक और विल आई स्टार्ट कैलकुलेटिंग?
No, no, it has to be logic because there's a lot of times that trick questions, right? If you try to do the standard way, you spend a lot of time. So you have to be very careful about what the question is asking. Usually, there is an easier way to do it. They will not ask you lengthy questions because the time does not permit you to do so. So when you're reading the question, read the question 2 times, but try to find the hook in that question, that what is that they are trying to test for. So it's more of logic, I would say.
गुड. इवन गो फॉर हैव यू लुक एट यूट्यूब में, आप देख पर चैटिंग देख
Yes,
लो,
sir, I'll do
बच्चे
that.
खुश हो जाएंगे सो दैट आप आंसर उनका भी करो.
How to answer entrepreneurship skills questions in an interview. Okay. So you can maybe, let's say, if you have some experience in that domain, talk about it. You've done some project in the college and you've taken it up at a further level, you can talk about it. Otherwise, a lot of one common answer is that one of the reasons of doing an MBA is to get understanding of how businesses work and then switch towards entrepreneurship. Another thing about FMS is that FMS in particular is that there is a 2 year placement holiday. So if you want to pursue your own entrepreneurship, you can do it for 2 years and then maybe take a placement. So that is opportunity in a lot of B schools.
And how does the company sees that if you have a 2 year gap, basically placement, आप तो बैठ जाओगे,
Hmm.
कंपनीज कैसे देखती हैं उसे? एफएमएस तो आपको अलाउ करेगा, वो अलग
Hmm.
चीज है. मेरे ख्याल कंपनी नेगेटिव
So
देखेगा उसे.
it depends on what you are able to show for your work. Let's say if you have tangible outputs, that let's say you've this is the revenue that you have scaled up, this is the number of customers that you have reached, or this is the manufacturing that you have achieved. If you can show tangible outcomes, that will seem positive. But let's say after 2 years you do not have something tangible to show for, then it shows that it will affect little bit negatively.
जैसे जैसे कंपनी, कोई भी कंपनी है,
Hmm.
चाहे वो गूगल हो, चाहे वो टोटली बेस्ड अपॉन क्रिएटिविटी हो,
Hmm.
लेकिन तब भी जो बेसिक एसेट देख रहा होता है कोई भी कॉर्पोरेट, वो देख रहा होता है आपका आपका जिसे कहें कि कितनी देर तक आप रहेंगे हमारे साथ.
जी सर.
मतलब कोई नहीं चाहेगा कि मैं 6 महीने ट्रेन करूं, साल भर ट्रेन करूं, और वो आदमी जब वो फ्रूट देने लगे और वो कहे कि बाय बाय सर. तो that 2 year gap actually, you might have done something in the 2 year and you might have done a good company you created or whatever you may have created, लेकिन जो आप बेसिक एसेट शो कर रहे हैं वो शो कर रहे हैं कि you will not stick with me basically.
Hmm.
the idea आपका ऐसे पर्सनालिटी क्या है कि यू विल, मतलब जैसे जो आदमी प्लेसमेंट में नहीं बैठा है वो स्टिक ही नहीं है, वो कहीं स्टिक नहीं होने वाला है. तो वो
Hmm.
तो ऐसा आदमी है कि बस आप जब उसे ट्रेन करेंगे
छोड़
तब
देगा.
वो गलतियां
Hmm.
होंगी, कॉर्पोरेट को नुकसान होंगे, जब वो फ्रूट आने लगेगा वो कहेगा मैं जा रहा हूँ.
Hmm. So, इसलिए the question about why are you now stopping your startup and why do you want to go towards the corporate life, that question becomes very critical. So you have to give genuine reasons that why are you actually ending the startup? Because अगर कोई 2 साल के बाद प्लेसमेंट ले रहा है तो देयर वुड बी सम रीजन कि अब उसने वो करना बंद कर दिया है, या तो
हाँ,
स्टार्टअप चला नहीं, या उसने एंड कर दिया, या
एक
acquire हो गया,
एक ही
वॉट एवर
रीजन
रीजन.
होता है,
हाँ,
स्टार्टअप
नहीं
चलना
चलता,
नहीं,
चल नहीं
इसके
रहा.
अलावा कोई
तो
रीजन
यू
नहीं
हैव टू
होता.
बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, यू हैव टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट कि अब नहीं चल रहा. I explored the sector. It did not work out for me, and I think at my stage in my life, I need to be to transition towards corporate. I cannot take
स्किल
the risk of
चाहिए और
entrepreneurship.
नॉलेज चाहिए, और नॉलेज चाहिए, स्किल चाहिए, इसलिए मैं एफएमएस में आ रहा हूँ. दैट
जी सर.
मेक्स. एक एक क्वेश्चन बच्चे ने पूछा, जय ने पूछा था कि मैंने जब इंटरव्यूज आस्क यू तो क्रिएटिव स्किल सेट, जैसे कि गिव एन आंसर इन योर पास्ट लाइफ कि आप यहाँ पे अपने क्रिएटिविटी शो करिए,
हम्म.
तो वो कैसे आंसर करेंगे?
क्रिएटिविटी यूजुअली आप अपने इंटरेस्ट और हॉबीज के बारे में बोल सकते हो.
हम्म,
अगर आपकी कोई हॉबीज इंटरेस्ट है, और इट कैन बी रिलेटेड टू एनी फील्ड, मतलब इवन इफ यू आर नॉट डूइंग इट प्रोफेशनली, लेट्स से मुझे आई हैव एन इंटरेस्ट अबाउट वाचिंग मूवीज आल्सो, सो यू कैन मे
हम्म।
बी टॉक अबाउट हाउ what kind of movies do you like watching, do you visit any movie festivals, film festivals, they'll just try to understand that आपकी जो हॉबी और इंटरेस्ट है उस पे आप कितना टाइम स्पेंड करते हो, या फिर सिर्फ नाम लिखने के लिए आपने हॉबी लिख दिया,
अच्छा
तो वो
प्रफुल,
सिर्फ एक
एक
बार चेक करना चाहते हैं।
एक एक पर्सनल, एक मतलब मेरे माइंड में
हम्म,
आ रहा था आज कि इतने लोग IIM से, BC,
हम्म।
हम कितने बच्चों से भी बात करते हैं, FMS हुआ, सब लोग इतने फील्ड्स में जाते हैं, लेकिन कोई भी मूवीज एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री या इतने आजकल आपको मतलब जोकर्स दिखते हैं जो जिसे कहीं सोशल मीडिया के हीरो बने होते हैं, जो चाहे वो गाली निकाल रहे हैं वो एक दूसरे को, एंड दे बिकम हीरोज। सो व्हाई नॉट द पीपल विद सो मच इंटेलिजेंस, जिन्होंने मेहनत करके जो एक डायमंड बना हुआ है, वो क्यों नहीं एंटरटेनमेंट में घुसता है? वो क्यों नहीं एक चैट चैनल बनाता है? वो क्यों नहीं एक सोशल मीडिया सेंसेशन बनता है?
सर मैं दो चीजें बताऊंगा, एक तो एफएमएस के एलम्स जिन्होंने ये कर चुके हैं, तो
हम्म।
फॉर एग्जांपल अभी ब्लैक वॉरन करके एक शो आया है नेटफ्लिक्स पे,
हाँ, ब्लैक
तो
मॉर्निंग।
मतलब उसके जो राइटर है वो एफएमएस 2009 बैच के एलम
अच्छा,
है,
ओके।
उनके
ओके।
मेन राइटर।
हम्म।
फिर दो स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियंस है, कुमार वरुण और राहुल दुआ, ये दोनों
हम्म।
एफएमएस के स्टूडेंट्स रह चुके हैं, और राहुल बहुत प्रोडक्टिव कॉमेडी, जैसे कुमार वरुण ने अपना क्विज शो भी चलाते हैं, क्विजिंग उन्होंने पॉपुलराइज किया है,
ओके। ओके।
तो ये हमारे एलम्स है। उसके अलावा बहुत सारे एलम्स हमारे इंडस्ट्री में है, जो जैसे जी बिजनेस वगैरह, ये
हम्म।
सब एंटरटेनमेंट कंपनीज में वो लीड करता है एज मैनेजर्स। एक ये चीज है। दूसरा रीजन वाई पीपल डोंट गो इनटू दिस सेक्टर इज दैट थोड़ा एक रिस्क रहता है, इनिशियल 5-6 साल में एक रिस्क एलिमेंट रहता है, कि अगर आप एंटरटेनमेंट सेक्टर में जाते हो तो एक फाइनेंशियल रिटर्न वाइज एक रिस्क रहता है, तो बहुत सारे लोग, एक एमबीए करने का पर्पस एक होता है कि एक हायर सैलरी में आप ट्रांजिशन करना चाहते हो,
हम्म।
तो वही रीजन है कि उसके बाद इमीडिएटली कोई नहीं चाहता कि हम ये
हम्म।
एक रिस्की सेक्टर एंटर करें।
हाँ, टू हैव ए मच बेटर एक स्टेबल लाइफ हो।
स्टेबल लाइन।
Okay. So one of the some student by the name Guru is asking, which section QA, DLR, BRC did you find the most challenging, and how did you overcome it?
सब मेरे लिए सबसे चैलेंजिंग क्यूए था। रीजन ये है कि सर मैं आई नॉट,
कंप्यूटर इंजीनियर के लिए QA कैसे हो गया चैलेंजिंग?
उसका रीजन सर ये है कि मेरा रिलेटिवली दोनों बाकी दो सेक्शंस और बेटर थे,
हम्म।
तीनों रिलेटिव चीज बोल रहा हूँ, क्योंकि मैं
हम्म।
2 साल से यूपीएससी प्रेप कर रहा था, तो मेरे आई हैड अ हैबिट ऑफ रीडिंग हिंदू आर्टिकल्स ऑन अ डेली बेसिस, तो वर्बल
अच्छा,
वाज,
you are an IS aspirant, yes.
हाँ आई
Very
स्पेंट 2 years,
qualified.
I
हम्म।
had given the mains also 2 times, so I was very comfortable with VRC. DILR again logical चीज है, कम engineering background है, तो DILR में तो I did not have to practice a lot. Quant was something where I had to look up a lot of basic maths formulas, एक जो pattern होता है, तो I had to put a lot more energy in QA. In that sense, it was a little difficult. बाकी QA, the engineering background helps a lot in QA.
हम्म।
तो उसमें I had to put relatively more effort. That's the reason I chose QA.
अभी आपके जो बैच में कितने लोग इंजीनियर्स हैं, कितने नॉन इंजीनियर्स हैं?
सर फिफ्टी
परसेंटेज?
परसेंट से 60% से ज्यादा इंजीनियर थे जी सर।
अच्छा, 60 से ज्यादा इंजीनियर्स
हम्म, हम्म।
हैं। ओके, एंड डू यू really feel the difference in the प्लेसमेंट में डिफरेंस होता है? कैन वी
सर
से C2C इंजीनियर्स इज मोर?
सर आई वुड नॉट से इंजीनियरिंग नॉन इंजीनियरिंग, आपकी अंडरग्रेड इंस्टीट्यूट की रेपुटेशन क्या है उसके ऊपर, जैसे आईआईटीएन से तो उनको एक शॉर्टलिस्ट बेटर मिलती है, कोई डीयू की कॉलेजेस से, जैसे कॉमर्स के भी है, एसआरसीसी वगैरह से है, तो उनको एक बेटर शॉर्ट रहता है शॉर्ट लिस्टिंग में। बट एंड ऑफ द डे वो शॉर्ट लिस्टिंग में अफेक्ट करता है, इंटरव्यू अगर आपको मिलता है तो देन एवरीबडी इज एट द सेम लेवल वंस यू रीच द इंटरव्यू रूम फॉर अ कंपनी।
एंड देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन बाय द स्टूडेंट, स्ट्रेस रिलीफ एक्टिविटी क्या करें? अब एक साल पूरे मैराथन एक करना है, तो व्हाट इज द स्ट्रेस रिलीफ? आई एम एक्चुअली स्क्रॉलिंग द क्वेश्चंस, आई एम लुकिंग एट द क्वेश्चंस नाउ।
स्ट्रेस रिलीफ के लिए फर्स्ट तो एक है कि यू शुड नॉट बर्न आउट इन द अर्ली फेज। जैसे हम कैट प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करते हैं तो पहले 2 महीने इतना ज्यादा प्रिपेयर कर लेते हैं, इतना मेहनत करते हैं कि उसके बाद वो मोटिवेशन कम हो जाता है, तो जब तक एग्जाम आते हैं तब तक वो आपका वो बर्न आउट हो चुका है। तो एक स्टेडी प्लान बनाइए कि अगर पूरे साल का प्रेप कर रहे हो या 6 महीने का कर रहे हो, तो हाउ डू यू वांट टू डिवाइड योर प्रिपरेशन फेज, दैट इज वन थिंग, कि ऐसा नहीं कि बहुत ज्यादा कर रहे हो किसी एक फेज में। सिमिलरली डेली प्लान भी ऐसे ही बनाइए कि आप ओवर एग्जर्ट ना कर रहे हो आप खुद को एक दिन में।
हम्म,
स्ट्रेस रिलीफ मेरे लिए बुक्स है, मुझे बुक्स पढ़ना पसंद है, नॉन फिक्शन पर्टिकुलरली। बाकी मैं यूट्यूब पे भी टाइम स्पेंड करता हूँ। मोस्टली जो इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियोस करंट अफेयर होते हैं मुझे मजा आता है वो पढ़ने में। बट इसके अलावा मूवीज इज समथिंग दैट आई एंजॉय वॉचिंग अ लॉट। एमबीए में आके थोड़ा कम टाइम मिलता है मूवी देखने का, क्योंकि द रिगर इज अ लॉट। बट आई
हम्म।
आई स्टिल ट्राई टू वॉच मूवीज व्हेनेवर आई हैव द फ्री टाइम
लेकिन
एज अ
नॉर्थ
स्ट्रेस
कैंपस
रिलीफ।
का एटमोसफेयर अच्छा है, मतलब मूवी देखने की जरूरत ही नहीं है। सारा कैंपस
हाँ
एक तरह की मूवी बना रहता है हमेशा।
हाँ, मतलब जरा
आजकल आपके फेस्टिवल्स चल रहे होंगे ना सभी के,
हाँ हाँ,
ये टाइम पे।
सभी कॉलेजेस के फेस्टिवल से एफएमएस का
हम्म,
फेस्टिवल भी आएगा लेटर दिस मंथ, सो ये फेज काफी इंटरेस्टिंग होता है।
तो ओके, एनी क्वेश्चन यू कैन सी?
Yeah, I'll just look through it. How do you handle setbacks or low mock test scores?
करेक्ट।
Hmm. Um, इसमें एक चीज है कि मॉक टेस्ट का आइडिया ये है कि आप अपने वीकनेसेस को आइडेंटिफाई करें। मॉक टेस्ट में एक्सेल करने से कोई टेंजिबल बेनिफिट है नहीं, वो तो डी डे पे आप क्या करते हैं वो डिटरमाइन करता है। तो मॉक टेस्ट में लो स्कोर आता है तो यूज इट एज अ बेनिफिट कि आपको पता चल गया है कि आप कौन से टॉपिक्स में आपका शॉर्ट कमिंग है। तो वो आइडेंटिफाई कीजिए, नेक्स्ट टेस्ट में एटलीस्ट सेम मिस्टेक ना हो। यही मिस्टेक होती है, इट्स ओके, बट ट्राई टू एंश्योर दैट यू डोंट मेक द सेम मिस्टेक्स रिपीटेडली। सो यूज दैट एज अ पॉजिटिव फोर्स अगर लो स्कोर आता है। और सेटबैक का आई थिंक यही पर्सपेक्टिव मेरा रहता है कि आप मिस्टेक से लर्न कीजिए। अगर जैसे मैंने 2 अटेम्प्ट्स दिए यूपीएससी में, आई कुड नॉट क्लियर इट, आई वेस्टेड 2 entire years, आई डिड नॉट हैव वर्क एक्स, इट वाज अ सेटबैक। बट देन मैंने देखा कि मैंने क्या क्या चीजें सीखी है इसमें से। तो बहुत सारे यूपीएससी की चीजें जो मैंने सीखी थी वो मेरे एमबीए इंटरव्यूज में ड्यूरिंग एडमिशन एज वेल एज ड्यूरिंग प्लेसमेंट आई कुड यूज इट। जैसे एक जनरल अवेयरनेस होती है या ग्रुप डिस्कशंस होती है, तो आई कुड यूज माई नॉलेज फ्रॉम माई यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन फॉर माई इंटरव्यूज। तो आप देखिए कि आपने जो एफर्ट डाला है वो आप कैसे यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं आगे। तो दैट्स द आइडिया कि सेटबैक टेम्पररी, आप दुखी होंगे, दैट्स नेचुरल, उसमें कुछ मैजिक बुलेट नहीं है कि आप उससे आप फील नहीं करेंगे, इट्स ओनली ह्यूमन। बट इट इज, यू हैव टू जस्ट गेट ओवर इट वेरी क्विकली एंड लुक एट द नेक्स्ट स्टेप्स अहेड, कि आगे की अपॉर्चुनिटीज वेस्ट ना हो जाए उसमें।
करेक्ट। अगर दुख फील नहीं होता, सुख कहाँ से फील होगा? तो
हाँ
इवन आपके 2 साल भी वेस्ट थोड़ी ना है बेसिकली, टोटल।
एग्जैक्टली।
मुझे लगता है कि वो एक टाइम, एक एक अलग एक लर्निंग स्किल्स आपको देता है, रेदर पेशेंस देता है। पूरा साल साल का वो प्रोसेस है। और मेरे ख्याल से 2 साल से ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट भी नहीं करना चाहिए, किसी को भी नहीं करना चाहिए, एंड इट्स ए राइट मूव टू स्ट्रेट अवे मूव
स्विच, यस सर।
ऑन। चलो आप एक क्वेश्चन पिक करिए, देन वी विल ट्राई टू वाइंड अप।
व्हाट वाज योर माइंडसेट लाइक ऑन द डे ऑफ द एग्जाम, हाउ डू यू हैंडल स्ट्रेस एंड प्रेशर? तो इसमें थोड़ी मेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है कि मैं थर्ड अटेम्प्ट के बाद कैट के लिए स्विच करने वाला था। थर्ड यूपीएससी अटेम्प्ट के बाद मैं कैट देने वाला था, ये मेरा
थर्ड।
माइंडसेट था। थर्ड 3 अटेम्प्ट दूंगा यूपीएससी का, उसके बाद मैं एमबीए पे तरफ जाऊंगा। तो मैंने सेकंड अटेम्प्ट के बाद कैट ऐसे ही दिया था, विदाउट अ लॉट ऑफ प्रेप, की दे देते हैं कैट, पता चले कि कितना कितना पानी में है। तो मेरा कोई प्रेशर ही नहीं था एग्जाम में जाते हुए, विच आई थिंक हेल्प मी अ लॉट ड्यूरिंग द एग्जाम। नाउ इट इज वेरी इजी फॉर मी टू से कि आप प्रेशर मत लीजिए एग्जाम के टाइम स्पेशली, बट आइडिया यही है कि आप उसको हाई स्टिक्स गेम मत बनाइए कैट को, कि दिस इज द एंड ऑफ द लाइफ। ऐसा नहीं है, आप कैट मल्टीपल टाइम्स दे सकते हैं। कैट नहीं है तो उसके बाद दूसरी एग्जाम होती है, जेट होती है, एसआईबीएम की अलग एग्जाम होती है। तो अब अगर एग्जाम में जाते हो तो डोंट गो विद द माइंडसेट कि दिस इज द एंड ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, कि आज स्कोर नहीं है तो मेरा करियर बर्बाद है, मेरी लाइफ बर्बाद है। आज कोई और अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलेगी बहुत चीजें करने को। तो हमेशा वो एक माइंडसेट से जाइए कि अगर प्लान ए नहीं चलता तो अगर और प्लान बी है, और 25 लेटर्स है। तो ऐसा बहुत प्रेशर नहीं, जैसे बी स्कूल में भी अगर मैं देखता हूँ प्लेसमेंट में कि कोई कंपनी आई है, तो लोग बहुत स्ट्रेस में जाते हैं कि नहीं मुझे ये कंपनी कन्वर्ट करनी है, और वो प्रेशर में कभी वो कंपनी कन्वर्ट नहीं होती है। इट इज वेरी गुड टू बी एम्बिशियस, इट्स गुड टू हैव सम गोल्स, बट इफ यू लेट दैट प्रेशर अफेक्ट यू देन यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू परफॉर्म। तो एक माइंडसेट, खुद के ब्रेन को ये बात बताने वाले हो, 3 डेज में बोलते ऑल इज वेल बोलो, सिमिलर माइंडसेट है कि आप अपने ब्रेन को ट्रेन करो कि दिस इज नॉट द एंड ऑफ द लाइफ।
इजी टू से, डिफिकल्ट
इजी
टू।
टू से implement, but it will happen, you have to do it consciously।
नहीं, जैसे अब रास्ता ये की हो तो कैसे कॉन्शियस में हूँ कि वो भी रास्ते हैं?
नहीं, जैसे बोला सर, कैट
तो
कैट
होता
दिया
क्या है?
आपने।
नहीं नहीं, आई अंडरस्टैंड इट, आई एम सेइंग, जब जब भी आप कुछ चीजें एम करते हैं ना, तो एक ही रास्ता दिखता है उस समय।
जी सर। हम्म।
मतलब चाहे वो आईएएस हो, चाहे वो कैट हो। अगर कैट का वो एग्जाम है उस दिन, और मतलब पूरा साल घूमने वाला है,
हम्म।
तो उस समय ही मतलब मैं एज ए टीचर आई ऑलवेज से द सेम थिंग व्हाट एवर यू आर सेइंग। लेकिन जब मुझे कैट देना होता है, जैसे कि मैं इस बार भी कैट दिया था, तो उस दिन आई जस्ट फील लाइक अ स्टूडेंट। मतलब वो सेम मुझे टेंशन फील होता है। मुझे रात को जो एक दिन पहले रात की नींद मेरी डिस्टर्ब होती है। मतलब वो पूरा एक एक्सपीरियंस है, तो वो फील होता है उस चीज को। चलिए
हम्म।
ठीक है। इट वाज।
सर उसका एक एक छोटा जवाब है उसके लिए कि तब आप अपनी प्रिपरेशन को ट्रस्ट कीजिए। अगर आपने एक साल मेहनत की, आपने देखा है कि मैंने स्टार्टिंग में मेरा क्या स्किल सेट था, आज मेरा क्या स्किल सेट है, ऑब्वियसली इंप्रूवमेंट हुआ होगा एक साल में। तो ट्रस्ट कीजिए कि अगर मैंने जीरो से ये लेवल तक पहुंचा हूं, तो इट मीन्स आई हैव द कैपेबिलिटी टू एस इट। मतलब मैंने मेहनत की है तो उसका रिजल्ट आएगा। देन यू हैव टू ट्रस्ट योरसेल्फ मोर देन एनीथिंग एल्स एट दैट स्टेज।
करेक्ट। चलिए वाइंड अप करते हैं। और इट वाज ग्रेट टॉकिंग टू प्रकृत। So this is second time we meeting, and this I think more experience you are. तो अब पूरी चीजें 360 degree you talk about. At that time you only used to talk about the preparation part, but
यस सर।
today most of the your PPT was talking more into the interview stage, and which is the most critical right now. उसका weightage इतना high है. चलिए, anything you want to end, conclude, saying to the student?
Yes, first of all, thank you to Edu Shastra for having me again. A great opportunity for me to share my experiences with all the students and all the aspirants. And one thing I like to say is that, like I said, not the end of the world is exam.
Hmm.
You trust your preparation, trust your mentors, and you'll do well. Just go with a positive mindset. और इसका कोई alternative नहीं है. You have to go with a positive mindset, or you'll do well. That's all I want to say to the aspirants.
Only IS aspirants can say that, I think. चलिए, nice talking. Okay, bye bye. See you.
Thank you, sir.